suck if someone made an Annabelle doll with a REM pod built inside?
No, damn it, don't give me these ideas.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Curiosities. And today we have a special guest in Taylor Boggs from Raven Rose Paranormal. And today we're going to be talking about REM pods. How you doing today, sir?
Oh, no complaints. It's been a busy day, but always glad to take a few moments out of our day and spend some time with the old Baldy.
Sure, why not? I'm getting baldier every day.
There you go.
It adds character, that's what
Yeah,
they say.
bald is beautiful.
So today's episode, we're just gonna be kind of more like for those who are not familiar with REM pods, what they don't use and when they want to use it, how are they gonna be able to use it? So and then what are things to look out for? So basically, this is what our title is today. Are all REM pods equal? And the very first question we got here is, what is an actual REM pod?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, a REM pod, in its most basic understanding for the very simple minded, is an electromagnetic field detector. It's the only thing it's telling you is there is the presence of an electromagnetic field. There's no guarantee it's a ghost. Um, there's no guarantee it's spirit, but all it is a scientifically proven and detectable electromagnetic force.
Yes, and they come in all sorts of different variations.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the traditional REM pod from the TV shows, the circle puck looking thing with an antenna sticking off the top and some LED
Right?
lights and oh my god, it turned green. Oh, you know.
Right. Right.
Um, Cynthia has a really neat one that's just in the shape of a planchette,
Mhm.
but it has an antenna coming off of it and some LED lights, makes noises and stuff. It does the exact same thing.
Right.
Um, Homemade ones can do the same thing. I mean, that's really all it's doing. It's just a yes or no detection of an electromagnetic field.
Yep. Exactly. And you can do a lot of things with that when you do various different
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
there is so many different applications for it. The fun thing though is how the para entertainment field uses it as oh my god, it's
Right.
uh,
Right.
um, one of my favorites, and I'm sure this will be a question down the road here later on, but one of my favorites is um, the yes and no intelligent response. Um, one no, one beep yes, two beeps no, or this color yes, that color no,
Mhm.
and getting whatever is producing that magnetic field to manipulate it to the point where it changes the readout on the pod. It's just that's fun.
Yeah.
That's interesting, especially when you can take another meter, a K2 or a trifield or something, and reassure that there is nothing like electrical conduits or you know um, copper piping for water carries electromagnetic force, even though there's no electricity in it.
Mhm.
Copper is almost a perfect conductor, so a little bit of electricity can go a long ways in copper. Um, so yeah, if you can verify that there's nothing causing it around and it's the REM pod still reacting, It can be entertaining and it can be scientific at the same time.
Right, right, and we're in it for both. So the next question we have here is number 2. So, I should say, why are there so many different variations of a REM pod?
Let's make this answer really really simple. I'll just answer it with another question. Why is there so damn many different types of cars?
I guess you gotta find the right glove that fits.
Yeah, and um, the sensors inside may be sensing the same thing, but they might be at different frequencies. They might be at different amplitudes.
Mhm.
Um, and it doesn't hurt to do a little digging before you go buy one, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but REM pods can be pretty expensive.
Oh, yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Um,
Especially the ones that they use on a television show. Those go for at least 200 $200 a pop.
yeah. And I can tell you right now, with a little bit of research and a little bit of brain power, you can make one for about $10.
Yep. Yep. And
So
then and that goes to show that, that's kinda ties into this, next question here. Okay, so you got the teddy bears and the dogs and all that stuff, and is it such a good idea that to take a certain item, I mean, like a lantern, for God's sakes, to turn these things all into REM pods? Is it such a good idea to even do that?
there's a couple of different schools of thought with this. The most popular school of thought is introducing a trigger item will attract spirit or energy, and then the REM pod that's in the device will detect it. Um, that is a possibility. Um, I'm not saying that everybody should go out and get one of those teddy bears or whatever, but if you are frequenting a location that has known activity with, little girls,
Mhm.
a teddy bear might be the way to go. Um,
I haven't seen one with a doll inside of it.
yeah, you can do REM pod with just about anything, just
Yeah.
about anything.
Would
Um,
would that suck if someone made an Annabelle doll with a REM pod built inside?
no, damn it, don't give me these ideas. Um, REM pods. I, I am on a very very thin fence with REM pods. They have their uses and they have their um, use as a standalone device.
Mhm.
But I have a very hard time using any one device as a standalone device. Um, Couple it with something else, um, and not just not putting it in another thing like a trigger object. I'm talking use multiple pieces of equipment. If
Mhm.
you're going to lay out a REM pod, put a tri-field next to it.
Mhm.
You know, um, one of the things that is very frequently not done correctly is if you're doing it for more than para entertainment, if you're doing it for research,
Mhm.
you need to be able to duplicate the responses or prove on multiple pieces of equipment that something really was there.
Right.
Um, so the REM pod and a tri-field, or the REM pod and a K2, or even the REM pod and um, um, EMF, not an EMF, an EVP recorder.
Mhm.
Sorry, it's been a long day,
That's okay.
but try not to just get real hardcore onto one piece,
Mhm.
and try not to get real hardcore on just the toys.
Right.
Um, if you're doing it for science and you're doing it for research, obviously you have to use the instruments.
Mhm.
But yeah, don't just go in with a REM pod and investigate. Waverly Hills with a REM pod.
Right, right. I mean, that it's such a large location besides the fact, I mean, you need to have multiple, different types of equipment for that place.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, I mean, I've seen the ones now, the new hottest thing out there is a REM pod LED light strip. Like, you know, that's
Okay.
something that I have never I had thought about getting one. I know Short Bus Paranormal has one. It's just a tripwire basically with the REM pod built into it.
Okay.
So
So it's a string of LEDs with a REM pod hooked up to it that the indicator, I'm guessing, is say, can you make it go all the way to red or can you get it to, is it that kind of response? Like it progresses up the LEDs?
I think it does. It's motion detected, so wherever it goes across is where it lights up.
Okay.
So that's one of the newest hottest things that are out there. I mean, me, I would kind of be like old fashioned where instead of grabbing a tripwire like that, but do like a regular wire, but have like a bell hooked up to it.
Yeah. Um, you talk about being old fashioned. Every once in a while, he who shall not be named fucks up and does something right. Um, you can make an EMF detector out of tinfoil and copper wire and a glass jar.
Now
Um,
that's something I haven't heard before. What's with
and
the
you
glass jar?
to prove if you put it inside the glass jar, you can assure that it wasn't wind. You're just controlling the environment at that point. It's not necessarily there to do anything for it. It just it takes away the possibility of wind. What moved the aluminum foil.
Right,
So
right.
uh, that's something we could discuss. But I mean, I've seen those in action, and He Who Shall Not Be Named had a show with one on, and they actually got a response through it. So
Yeah. I mean, and I don't want to rip off this kind of type deal too, but it's a neat idea that I seen on Destination Fear where they use balloons.
yeah, yeah. Electromagnetic
Something so
energy.
basic, and it was a very interesting outcome.
Yep. Electromagnetic energy is what you build up when you rub your feet on the ground and shock somebody. You
Mhm,
know, if you rub a balloon on your hair and stick it to the wall, electromagnetic energy is what sticks it to the wall.
mhm.
So
I thought about doing that and bring that. I thought about actually bringing that to Edinburgh and that type of deal, and we could
hey,
test
buddy,
that theory out.
you got to have hair for that to work.
Well, I just use your hair.
Okay.
I don't think you wanna take my shirt off and rub it.
Oh, well, no, yeah. We'll keep clothed. That's safer.
Right, right. See, guys, we like to have a lot of fun on our investigations.
Yeah. Yep.
You always gotta try something new and something different.
Yeah.
Keep people guessing. So the next question here on the list is: are all REM pods made the same way and operate the same way, or they are all just kind of their own little creatures of the night that just
When you break a REM pod down to its most basic components, they are all the same. Um, the level of sensitivity just depends on the level of filtration that's built into the sensors. Um, so to boil it down to the nuts and bolts, yes, they are built the same way. All they do is, and look, guys, I'm not trying to take anything away from the multi-million-dollar ghost hunting industry that comes up with these new devices all the time. But anytime somebody comes out with a new REM pod, it's the same thing, same damn thing. It's just packaged in a prettier package so to get people to buy it.
yeah.
Um, if you have
I
a REM pod that's 10 years old, it's going to do the same damn thing as a REM pod that's out today. There's
Yeah.
just going to be a different level of filtration in it or less filtration, so it's more sensitive. Is really all it boils down to.
Mhm.
Um, that's the biggest thing I've got for people if they're going to take away something from this from an equipment standpoint. If you've got a K2 and they come out with a new K2, do
Mhm.
your research on it and check it out and see if it's actually something different.
Right.
Because anytime somebody puts a REM pod out and they're like, "Oh, look at this! This REM pod does this. This light's green now."
Mhm.
Everybody gonna run out and buy it. Well, it does the same damn thing as your red light REM pod.
Right, same
So
concept, yeah.
just if you want to have all the new toys and all the play toys, great. I mean, I'm not trying to stop you, but for
Mhm.
those of us that are a little bit more financially conscious, you know,
Right. Yeah, I mean, they all come in sorts of price ranges, and, I
mhm,
mean, I got one for 35 bucks, and, if you've heard of this place called Attic Junkie, he's got a lot of stuff that's all these REM pods, and I think that's kinda what he's solely based on his REM pods and building all the REM pods as he can and make different variations of it.
yeah.
And the one that I saw that really caught my eye is he's got the REM pod, but then he also has like an EMF meter below it to give off the numbers as well.
Well, that would be helpful. Now, see, that's an upgrade to a REM pod that would be useful.
Mhm.
I would see that as worthwhile spending the money on.
Yeah, I believe it's only 85 bucks.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, just be careful out there. Don't spend your money on three of the same thing that you have. It's just newer.
Right, right. I mean, look at the millimeter. I mean, the millimeter has a K2 built right on top of it
Yep.
sometimes.
Yep.
And those are the real expensive millimeters. Now, if you get a basic millimeter, it's probably 100 bucks less. But, I it goes the same thing with the EDI. Does the EDI have a K2 and all that stuff too?
Um, I'm
I can't
not
remember. It's
sure.
got like 5 different things on there.
Yeah, it has an EMF detector on it. I don't
Mhm.
think technically it's a K2.
Okay.
Um, we have one.
Yeah,
Um, I'm just not. I've only played with it once,
right.
and I'm really intrigued in the vibration sensitivity on that. So
Mhm. And what's interesting with that one, and I kinda wanna see more REM pods come out with this, added features where it does, you could hook up to a computer, and it gives a graph of what all has happened at some certain points of time of it being on.
you hear that out there, old ghost equipment makers? We needs us a REM pod that'll USB or Bluetooth to a computer.
I think that'd be interesting to see what kind of graph comes out of that because the EDI has a graph,
Yeah, it does.
so that's one of those things that, I think it would be interesting, and, I think you get a lot more out of it, more use out of it.
Yeah,
Just an idea. You know me, my ideas pop in my head just like that.
yeah. I worry about your ideas sometimes.
Oh, yeah, so does she.
Are you saying that's what she said?
I'm saying that's what she said. She said her she said. Oh, man. So the next question we have on here is, okay, so when you go to paranormal investigations or if you want to go hunting or hiking, do you need to bring a REM pod with you? Is it for all applications, like this sort of feature, or is it more geared to just the one-sided part of this feature?
Um, everything living in the world gives off some level of electromagnetic energy. Um, none of the REM pods we have are going to detect the electromagnetic field around the leaf on a tree. Um,
True.
we're talking scientific instruments that are tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars to detect something like that.
Mhm.
Um,
And you got those things where you can run into the ground and try to find something if
yeah,
they're in the ground.
do they have their application outside of paranormal investigations? If they do, I am not aware of one. Um, I think it's one of those things that is primarily geared towards the paranormal field. Now, that isn't to say that if you're out um, hunting cryptos or something, that it wouldn't be a good idea to take one along. Because I keep, and I don't know why, I get so blown away about some of these shows that I see. Now I hear that Bigfoot is a time traveling vortex making super being. Well, I'm sure there's an ENMF field involved with that. So holy shit.
I think Bigfoot's an alien.
Yeah.
That's what
So
I think.
whatever it is, whatever. But
I got a pair of super ears to try and find that one.
I do not particularly myself know of an application outside of the paranormal.
Mhm.
So if anybody's aware of one, let me know. I'm kind of curious now.
I would be too, but I don't think if you're gonna go for cryptids, I don't think you wanna go underwater with a REM pod without getting shocked.
Well, yeah, REM pods aren't waterproof anyway.
I don't know. You can unless you put them in those plastic cases, what they do with the GoPros.
Oh yeah, I guess they do make those. So
Yeah.
anything's
Uh,
possible.
that is
But
true. That is
I'm not gonna care if I have a mega or a REM pod with me if a megalodon's trying to swallow my ass or something.
No, no. They're they're just you're just running for God's sake, just run into a cage if you can.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter, it's probably gonna swallow the cage whole with you in it anyway.
Yeah, yeah. You seen the jaws of them things, man? They could
Oh,
swallow
yeah.
a Volkswagen.
Oh, yeah. I how f oh god. They gotta be, like, 50 feet long, aren't they?
I have something crazy like that. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Uh, so the next question we got on here is, so what are the problems that occur with REM pods that you know that are gonna be a stickler, when you get to investigations? What are the kinda ones that you run into a lot?
Well, there's a laundry list of problems that come along with using a REM pod. You remember when I had you up here and we were hanging out at my place and we were sitting in the kitchen and we were looking at one and
Yep,
I was showing you how you could um, modify the response of a REM pod with the distance of your hand
and
and
that
how fast it moves.
today, my friends, he ruined the REM pod for me.
Yeah, I know. But that in and of itself is a problem.
Yeah, it is, it
Um,
is.
they are not a reliable. Okay, let me rephrase this. I don't want to say they're not reliable. Maybe we are focusing on the wrong energy source. Maybe it's electromagnetic fields that are not reliable,
Mhm.
but I can manipulate the outcome of a REM pod with little effort. And that
Yeah.
that
That
is
was a
the real
mind-blowing
problem.
night. That was just a mind-blowing night, and we were testing that with all sorts of different items too with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we were doing, EMF meters and see how far and close we can go along with it. We were testing out the Tesla coil, we were testing out the plasma ball.
Yep.
Uh, but but the thing is, what I found out the very next night when we were at Malvern and when I was in the room, the dolls all by myself,
Yeah.
is the frickin' radio. The
Oh,
two
really?
that two-way radio messed with the REM pod and set it off because
Well,
it's on the
yeah.
same frequency.
Um, a two-way radio is basically a controlled electromagnetic field that is broadcast.
Mhm.
Whether or not the REM pod picks it up is depends on if the sensor's in that spectrum. Um, so
And
yeah,
I was a good 10 feet away from that thing, and every time I clicked on that button to talk to somebody, it would go off.
yeah, the REM pod would light up or something.
Mhm.
So you obviously have cop cars driving around with two-way CB communication, which is an electromagnetic field. Outside interference is always going to be an issue with everything we're doing in this field.
Mhm.
Is there a way to control that?
Right.
Um, is there a way to filter that? Well, if you filter out the possibility of an outside frequency reaching the REM pod, then you're basically rendering the REM pod useless. So,
Mhm.
how many times have you guys got intelligent responses to yes or no questions on a REM pod? I've only had it happen a couple of times.
So,
And
when
uh,
I was at the Leopis, this house, it was a bed and breakfast. It's kinda like one of the 3rd places I went to before. That one had pretty good response to it as far as a yes or no goes. And then the other one where I was at, like, a train station, and there we did it in the basement, and it had a good response. But not too often, uh, do I see it happen, unless you're watching the paranormal shows where it seems like it's happening every freaking time.
yeah, so
But how much are they
I
cutting that
guess
out?
what I'm trying to get at with it is don't put great stock in it, but use it and bring other equipment with you. It's always best to if your REM pod is lighting off and it's responding and it seems like it's working with you and it's an intelligent response,
Mhm.
document that same thing with something else if you can.
Right. Exactly.
Um,
Have your digital voice record like you said before with it.
you know, I have huge problems with like the digital SLR camera. I think that's the biggest joke that's ever hit the paranormal field. Um,
Mhm.
I don't have such a big problem with REM pods, but most of the equipment that we use, guys, is going to detect normal atmospheric energies. So we need to try to duplicate it with as
Right.
much equipment as we can
Mhm.
to narrow it down to yes, this is a spirit, or you know, it's just the cop, a couple of blocks away keying in and talking to, the comm center or something.
That's a pretty good range if it's picking up a cop like 2 blocks away, hypothetically speaking.
Yeah. And that was just kind of off the top of my head. It's
Mm.
is that going
Well,
to
yeah,
happen?
but
I doubt it, but
do they really have that far of range though? I mean, honestly, do they how far
it's
do you think the
it's not
range could be?
it's not the REM pod's range. It's the source of the magnetic energy. The range. Can it reach the REM pod?
True.
The REM pod doesn't send out anything. It detects what's coming to it.
Mhm.
So if that cop is sending out a strong enough EMF signal to reach the comm center, yeah, it'll reach 2 blocks. I've seen some CB communications work for miles.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
depends on how strong the signal is.
right. I mean, and at that point, you're being more, scientific with it versus being a paranormal investigator with it. Now you're getting into the scientific part of it.
Yep. But that's what I want to do. I
Right.
am trying to figure out ways to bring science into this field as a legit, usable, and documentable part of the field.
I
Um,
I think a lot of people are in that same boat with you. I mean, I think they're getting fed up with the same old, same old. Okay, we're getting the same answer here. We're getting the same answer with this thing.
yeah,
Let's go outside the box and be scientific about it and see how far we can go with things.
yeah. When it boils down to we are using the scientific method and it is repeatable and it is documentable, then we can start talking about the truth of the afterlife, spirits, and energies. Um, all we're doing right now is playing around with something that most of us know very little about.
Mhm.
And until we can break it down, get it figured out. And when I say it's repeatable, I'm saying I'm just going to use, since we have Velisca up in the background,
Mhm.
um, I go to Velisca, I get this response with this piece of equipment. This is documented. This is accurate. Team Smoking Joe from Tennessee comes out with that same piece of equipment and gets that same response at the same time
Mhm.
with the same environmental factors. Now we have something to look at.
Right.
All I
That's Go ahead.
all I see right now is everybody's out playing around and having fun and learning how to use these gadgets, and that's great. I think it's. I mean, everybody starts somewhere,
Right.
but
Right.
a universal database for our field where everybody can log their data, you know, thousands of teams across the country at millions of locations,
Mhm.
log the data, corroborate each other's data, start putting it together in something where, okay, now we're going to say we're going to go to Velisca now with another team, and we're going to try to reproduce the results that's in this database. And if we can,
Mhm.
now we have some solid scientific evidence towards intelligent energy responding with our devices.
Right.
And that
Totally
is
agree.
undeniable proof, but we're not there.
Mhm. And who knows? I mean, it might put some TV shows out of content.
And I don't pay
Uh,
attention to much of the TV shows anyway because everybody knows how I feel about that. Para entertainment is just that. They're not
yeah.
investigating, they're just wanting ratings so they can get their paychecks. So,
Yeah. However, I have to say that I like watching Destination Fear because they're doing the element as okay, we're going to go into a spot by ourselves and we're going to see what our fear will capture. I like that. They try to extend themselves as far as they can go. Now,
that's a new spin on the same nickel.
mhm,
Um, yeah, but we watch it for an entertainment value
right,
because we like watching people jump and scream and cry.
right, right,
So,
and I like how they show the back behind the scenes too in some of those
yeah,
and how it goes.
that's why most people don't like investigating with me because I have no reaction to anything. I don't care if a demon runs up behind me and slaps me on the ass. You ain't going to know it happened. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and well, have you watched the latest Ghost Hunters shows lately?
no,
They have been pretty good. They have been getting a lot of feedback, a lot of stuff, and they're bringing in the real time EVPs where people actually can hear as they have their headphones on
yeah,
through the digital voice recorders. Must have probably a mic inside their headphone to catch what they are catching at real time.
mm, cool.
It's very interesting. I actually kinda like that, concept of what they're trying to pull, but the last 4 shows have been pretty darn good.
Well, that's good, and I'm glad somebody's trying to break the mold. And I really do hope they continue to try to push for paranormal investigation rather than para entertainment.
Yeah.
Um,
At one point, they had one where they had a door that opened by itself, and they showed it on video doing it. So what he did is he went and got some, tape or whatever it was he went and got to make sure that that door was tight can be. It still popped open on its own. And he shut it, he tried pulling on it, and he couldn't pull it open without force.
yep. Now,
See, that's good technique that they're actually showing that they're doing that.
yeah. Now, take it one step further and send somebody else to corroborate that data and see if it happens for them.
Right, right.
You know,
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So,
it's going to be years and years and years until we're at a place where we can truly say it's a scientific investigation.
mhm,
Um, there's people that are going to butt heads with me on that, and there's people that are going to say, "Well, we've got years and years of data at the same place, and we corroborate all of this ourselves." Well, that's not how the scientific method works, but
no, if they come up with something and they come up with the same thing, there you go, like you mentioned before.
it's okay. What else you got for me, man?
Alright, so the last question we have up here, and this is more geared to a newer paranormal investigator that's coming into the field. Now, if they're gonna get a REM pod, should they go cheap or should they go expensive and say, "You know what? I'm gonna be in this in the long run. I should just go out and buy that $200 REM pod and just be done and over with and not get another one."
Okay. How I approach this with fledgling investigators and teams is if you guys are comfortable enough with yourselves and how you work together as a team, and you know you're going to be doing this for more than a few times, then your gear as a team needs to be decided on.
Mhm.
Um, to a new investigator that doesn't have a team, I'm going to tell you to spend as little as you possibly can.
I did.
Um, until you know this is something you want to do.
Oh, I know, but I just wanted to go cheap.
Yeah, and everybody's financial position is different.
Correct.
A $200 REM pod to some people is holy shit a lot of money,
Yep.
and some people $200 REM pod is oh I got three of them. You know.
Oh, yeah, exactly, but, and that's when I come up to where I talk about earlier in the podcast is that when you get an expensive and a small and a cheap one, they're both gonna come out the same way in a
Mhm.
response. So, in a way, it's a gray area for some
Yep,
people.
it's a very gray area. A lot of people say with electronics you get what you pay for. But
And that is true.
when it comes to things like this, electromagnetic field detection is a certain microchip processing device.
Mhm.
There's only a handful of places that make it, so they're all pretty much the same when you boil it down. Um, it's just they might add frequency filters on the cheap ones
Mhm.
so they don't have such a wide a spectrum. So it may seem like the fancy $200 ones detecting more, but it's just has a wider frequency band that it sees.
Yeah, and you've seen my small one. I mean, it's got a huge ass antenna to it.
Yeah,
So, the only thing I don't like about that, I wish that they were, and I mean, they're all 9-volt batteries, I believe.
yeah, pretty much.
The placement on where mine is, I don't care for it too much. I wish it was one of those it's flush, You open the door, you put your battery in, you pop the back in, and then go about your business instead of being out and about and kind of bulky-ish in a way.
Yep.
Because to me, if you drop that thing, and Lord knows I probably will out of fear at some place, I will drop that sucker and it's gonna snap right off.
Yep. And the rest of it's going to shatter.
Right. So, I mean, it hasn't happened to me yet. I mean, we'll see what happens in May, but,
Yeah.
like I said, I prefer the cheaper end because I like to budget what I get. I mean,
For the new people out there that's thinking about doing this and thinking about getting into it,
budget your
understand understand the financial investment that you're getting into.
exactly.
Um, I don't know if you guys realize this, but it's, 800 to $1,000 to get into some of these places for one night,
Mhm.
and some of them are even more than that.
Correct.
Um, I've done um, Sally House, done Missouri State Penitentiary, Villisca, you know, and I can tell you right now that the only way these things happen is with a group of people because there's no way we're flipping 3, 4 grand to go to Missouri State Penitentiary for a night by myself.
Oh, exactly, exactly. I mean,
So
it's the same thing when you go to Sheboygan Asylum. I mean, and you're granted you're only getting like some of those places you're only getting 8 hours.
yeah, yeah,
Other places you're getting like Sheboygan, you get 12 hours, but there you're spending 2,400 for 12 hours.
yeah. See, that's the kind of investment. Now that's not so bad if you take 10 people.
Right, and the place is big
Mhm.
enough for it. I mean, plenty
Yeah,
big for it. Um, I mean, like, okay, there's a school I found that is 60,000 square feet, 3 levels, and it's 200 for 4 people. You
sign
get
me up. Shit,
and you get 12 hours to investigate it.
that's somewhere up by you, I'm assuming.
It's in Broadhead.
Okay. No, we should visit off camera about getting together and going up there.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
it's
always looking for the next fun place to go, and schools are fun. Um,
oh, yeah, you got such a wide variety of spirits you could get with that. So,
we were the last team to investigate the Manila School.
okay,
That place was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed that place. Um, got a lot of interesting responses, and I mean, this has been I don't know what 4 or 5 years ago now, maybe.
okay.
And I'm still not done going through everything that we've caught. I mean, I've
It
got
takes a while.
hundreds of EVPs. So,
Yeah, and that's the other aspect of paranormal investigating is the data and I'm not gonna say evidence because right now it's all about data, what you
mm,
recover. When it's solid ground evidence that you have EVP, then I'll call it evidence.
yeah. Um,
So,
fine line there, evidence versus data. Um, data leads to evidence.
yeah,
So you're correct in your terminology. So
yep, yep.
I've got thousands of hours of data and yet to have any evidence.
And that's why we call it the paranormal field.
Yep.
It's hard to get stuff when you want it. It doesn't act on your time. It acts on their time.
And that's why it's going to be so damn hard to turn it into a scientific investigation.
Yes, it will. Unless you get everything that's all residual.
Yep. You got a better chance there, and that's still not a guarantee.
Right. Because you gotta find out what times they're moving around.
Yep.
Well, sir, this has been an awesome interview. Definitely gotta do more down the road because I like to pick at your brain.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing this. So hit me up
And
sometime in the future if you got something else you want to go over.
oh, I got full of stuff. So, everybody, thank you for joining for tonight's show. And once again, this is Taylor Boggs from Raven Rose Paranormal. And with that, I will see you on the next pair of Curiosities.
Have a good night, everybody.
I bid you adieu and good night. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Thanks for watching today's video. Please subscribe and tap that bell for more notifications. See you on the next video.